Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rizky Saputra. Here I want Here I would like to present my presentation about my lesson plan that discusses the transactional tax. Okay, the first lesson plan. Name of teacher Muhammad Rizky Saputra. Name of school SMA 5 Banjarmasin. Subject English, grade class 12. The topic: why don't you visit CITL chapter 2, text type, transactional tax, skill, writing and speaking, time allocations. One more in 5 minutes. Here are the core competences. The first core competence is to appreciate and practice the teaching of their religion. The second, to demonstrate the honesty, discipline, responsibility, caring, or tolerance, cooperation, politeness, confidence in interacting effectively with the social and natural environment within the reach of association and its existences. Third, to understand knowledge or factual, conceptual, and procedural based on curiosity about science, technology, art, culture, relate to visible phenomena and events. Fourth, to try to process and to present in a concert domain or using parsing, arranging, modifying, and making an abstract domain that writing, reading, counting, drawing, and compassing in accordance with what's learned in school and some other sort in the perspective or theory. B. Basic competence and indicators of competence achievement. The basic competence is the first basic competence is 3.5. Implement social functions, text structures, and textual and written transactional interaction text elements involving the action of giving and requesting for a suppressing information followed by an oral suggestion in accordance with the context of its use. Notice the element of the if with imperative, can and should. The indicators of competence achievement 3.5.1 to identify structure of transactional text about giving instructions, and the next to explain transactional text about giving instructions according to structure. The second of basic competence is 4.5. Compiling the text of an oral and written transactional interaction involving the act of giving and requesting information relate to the assumption is followed by a command or suggestion with respect to social functions, text structures, and the correct and context-based element of the linguistic. The indicator is 4.5.1 to perform communicative actions based on transactional text about giving instructions. The next 4.5.2 to create transactional text about giving instruction that is precise and accurate. And C, learning. The C is learning objective. In the end of class, first, the students will be able to explain transactional text about giving instruction that have been prepared in suitable, precise, and accurate ways with the condition in the class. The second is the students will be able to present their own transactional about giving instructions in front of class. Third, the students will be able to identify the social function or text structure or linguistic elements used in the interactions learned. Attitudes follows focus: the first religious, second nationalist, third integrity, fourth mutual cooperation. D. Learning materials. First, regular learning materials. First is fact, that starting, responding, respect or unexpected. Second is concept, social function, that giving instruction is an expression that used to give or ask somebody to do something that what we want. Giving production same with imperative sentence. Here the example of giving instruction. And then the principle, dominant language features. If plus simple present, comma, verb 1 plus object or adverb. Example, if you want to finish your homework, comma, stop playing mobile games now. Or verb 1 plus object or adverb, comma, if plus simple present. Example, call me if you are still sick next week. The procedure, where transactional text about statements and questions relate to giving instructions. The second, learning materials for remedial, for students who have not reached the learning target about giving instructions in the allotted time. Asking for information activities need to be given by the teacher. Third, learning materials of enrichment. Social function, generic structure, and dominant language features about conditional sentence in transactional text. To be given both oral and written by the teacher. Learning method. Approach, scientific approach, learning model, CLT, or communicative language teaching. Learning media, in focus or LCD projector. Second worksheet. Third textbook. Learning source. First, Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan 2018, buku siswa mata pelajaran bahasa Inggris kelas 12, Jakarta, Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan. Second, another relevant sources. Okay. Teaching and learning activity. Opening activity. Teacher orientation. Doing the opening by reciting salam and praying to start the lesson. Checking the presence of the students as the reflection of disciplined behavior. And the next, preparing the students to follow the process of learning transactional text about giving instructions. A perception, connecting the learning materials or them or activities that will be done to the students' experience in the previous level, that class 11. Reminding of the prerequisite recite materials by asking the students and asking the questions relate to the lesson that will be done. Motivation, giving the description of the benefit to learn the materials. If this material or project has done well and seriously, the students will be able to explain the giving instructions. Telling the learning objective to the students. Asking the question. Giving references. Telling the students about the materials that will be discussed today. detailing the core competence, basic competence, indicators, and minimum gradation criteria of the meeting. Dividing learning group, explaining mechanism of the implementation of learning experience based on the learning steps. Main activity. Learning model syntax stimulation, teaching and learning activities, literation activities. Students are given motivation or stimulation to focus attention on the topic by doing some ways. The first viewing or without or with tools. Display relevant pictures or photos or videos. Observing, showing definition of giving instruction and example. Third, reading in their own home before the teaching learning activities. Students are asked to read material from textbooks or other supporting books from the internet or related material about transactional text in form of giving instruction. And then listening. Students are asked to listen to the materials given by the teacher which is related to transactional text in form of giving instruction. Chapter 2, page 17. Create sample dialogue of giving instruction. Problem statement or question or problem identification. Critical thinking. The teacher gives students the opportunity to identify as many questions as possible related to the paper present and will be answered through learning activities. For example, asking the questions about what is giving instruction, what is the purpose of giving instruction, how to make giving instruction, which is not understand from what is observed of questions to get additional information about what is observed, starting from factual questions to hypothetical questions to develop creativity, curiosity, the ability to formulate questions, to form critical thoughts that need to live smartly and lifelong learning. For example, the meaning of giving instruction is the generic structure and dominant language features of giving instruction are. The next is data collection, collaboration, and critical thinking. Students gather relevant information to answer the questions that have been identified through the activity. Observing the object or phenomena, interviewing the informant, collecting the information, reading other sources beside textbook. Students are asked to explore their knowledge by reading references, books about how to make structured giving instruction that is good. Representing activities. Learners do the following activities. The students work in pairs to analyze the general, functional, and dominant language features of giving instruction based on the paper. The students discuss it with other friends to make giving instruction sentences. Discussing, reviewing, exchange information about how to make a good giving instruction. By being actively responded by students from other groups in order to obtain a new knowledge that can be used as material for group discussion later using the scientific methods contained in the learner's handbook or on the worksheets provided carefully to develop a conscientious, honest, polite attitude, respect the opinion of others, the ability to communicate apply the ability to gather information through a variety of ways that are learned, develop learning habits, and lifelong learning. Next is data processing. Critical thinking. Students in their groups discuss processing the observational data in a way, discussing about the data, how to identify structure of transactional text about simple giving instruction, how to describe transactional text about simple giving instruction according to the instructor, how to make giving instruction sentence that is good, that have been collected or summarized in previous activities. Processing information that has been collected from this from the result of previous activities or meetings, as well as the result of observing activities and the activity of gathering information that is ongoing with the help of question on the worksheet. Students doing their performance in making a giving instruction sentence. The next is verification. Critical thinking. Learners discuss the results of their observations and verify the result of their observations with data or theory in the source book through activities, adding breadth and depth to process information that is looking for solutions from various sources that have different opinions to develop honestly conscience discipline, obeying the rules, hard work, the ability to apply procedure, and the ability of inductive and deductive thinking improving. Present in front of class there about their own simple giving instruction, include with the students and teacher discussed together about the simple advertisement that I have been made by the students. Next is generalization. Communication. Students are discussing to summarize. Deliver the results of discussion in form of conclusions based on the results of the analysis verbally in writing or other media to develop an attitude of honestly conscientiousness, tolerance, ability to think systematically, express opinions politely. Present the result of the classical group discussion about simple giving instructions that are interesting and precise. Express opinions on presentations made and responded to by the group presenting. Ask about the presentation and other students are given the opportunity to answer them. Summarize the important point that emerged in the new learning activities carried out in the form of a written observation report about simple giving instruction that is interesting, answering questions contained in the student handbook or worksheet that have been provided, ask questions about things that are not understood, or the teacher throws a few questions to the student. Complete the competency test contained in the student handbook or on the worksheet that has been provided individually to check student mastery of the subject matter. Notes. During learning takes place, the teacher observes The attitude of students in learning, which includes attitudes, discipline, self-confidence, behave honestly, resilient to deal with problem of responsibility, curiosity, care for the environment. Closing activity. Students making summary creativity with the guidance of the teacher about the important points that emerge in the new learning activities carried out. Scheduling homework, scheduling projects that must be studied at the next meeting outside school hours or at home. The teacher checking student work completed immediately. Students who have completed the project correctly are entitled and given a ranking number for the project assessment. Give awards to groups that have good performance and collaboration. Assessment, remedial, and enrichment. Assessment technique, effective, spiritual, and social. Observation. Observation assessment is based on observing the attitudes and behaviors of students, both relate to the learning process and in general. Direct observations made by the teacher. The following are examples of attitude assessment instruments: that religious discipline, responsibility, mutual cooperation. And then the psychomotor performance. From this learning process, the students are able to implement the giving instructions in front of class. Here, here the rubric. Aspect of writing assessment: that suitability, grammatical, vocabulary, and clarity of meaning. An aspect of speaking assessment: that grammar, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, pronunciation, and task accomplishment. The points is 5 till 1. Okay, maybe until here, and thanks for your attention. English I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.